This is Fox Sports 940.
That's probably a copyright issue. We're going to get thrown off the air.
Ricardo is the best, man.
It's like ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. That took me back to my childhood with John Miller and Joe Morgan on Sunday nights. Now we're probably going to get thrown off. That's a copyright issue, Ricardo. But I'm going to fly out of here about 6 o'clock, and we'll leave that to you. That's going to be a you issue. So, hey, welcome back to the Miami Marlins Hot Stove Show on Fox Sports 940 Miami and the iHeartRadio app with Steven Schramm. I'm Kyle Seeloff with you every Tuesday. Flip it to a podcast for you. Put some of our interviews up on YouTube as well. So we're in segment number 3. Probably got about 12 minutes here in this segment, Steven. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a little fun with this. We're taking a look at the Miami Marlins roster, and I think we're two different wavelengths here a little bit, but what we're going to do is we're going to
Cyber Tuesday.
We're going to use Mr. Sherman's money. He's giving us a ton, and we're going to put our team together for 2024. But let me start here. We're going to organically kind of do this, and at some point I'll kind of send it to you, and we're going to bounce back and forth. I'm just going to name some guys, some staples: Luis Arraez, Josh Bell, Jazz Chisholm Jr., Jake Berger, Brian De La Cruz, Jesus Sanchez, John Birdie, Nick Fortes, Avi Garcia's there. I think that's a weird situation. We'll see. And then I'm also going to put in a guy like Vidal Brujan. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. I don't know what's going to happen with
Let's say, okay, so let's say we have those 10 position players.
Okay.
And you have a 26-man roster. You're going to do 13 position players, 13 pitchers. That leaves us with 3 guys. Now,
Three spots.
Three spots.
Sure.
If you want to promote if you feel really strongly about an Xavier Edwards and you want to put him on the roster.
Jacob Amaya.
Okay. Or you can go out and sign guys. So let's say we got those 10 guys. There's some clear issues there in terms of catching in a shortstop. That would seemingly be 2 guys. Let me first ask you this. Anybody, so we have 3 spots to fill. Anybody that I didn't mention you immediately want to bring up from the minor leagues that
minors
that you think should be on the roster next year?
No.
Okay, so then we're going to the free agent market. We're not going to trade guys. We screw everybody. We're not trading anybody.
I'm not doing that.
So let's start with catching and shortstop. Give me a couple of names.
I'm going to start with shortstop. And I have my dream, and then I have my – I wouldn't even say sleeper.
Okay.
I would say makes the most sense. Where do you want me to start? You want me to just –
It's up to you. You tell me.
Local radio, dream?
Be realistic.
Okay, Tim Anderson, 30 years old. Batted .245 last year with Chicago, 1 home run, 25 RBIs, had a disappointing year. Really got labeled as someone that I don't want to say is a clubhouse distractor, disruptor, separator, whatever it may be. There's a lot of factors that come with this. Tim Anderson is super talented. We've seen it, 2-time All-Star. There's a couple of things that come attached to him. He's really talented. But really, some of the questions that come to mind are, if you are trying to create a culture, if this is a culture-first team with Skip Schumacher, is he the guy that you're going to bring in? And the caveat to this is, he played with Jake Berger. Do you go through Jake Berger? Was it a White Sox thing? Was it a Tim Anderson thing? Because he's super talented. He plays a good shortstop. He obviously would add so much athleticism and flair to this team. Another bat. You could then move Luis Arraez if you want to move him from 1 to 2, whatever it may be. He lengthens the lineup. Your thoughts on Tim Anderson?
I don't know if I'm sold on Tim Anderson. I think that name's going to come up a lot. I think that's a guy that's probably going to cost you in the range of 1 year, $5 to $6 million. Now, before we get too much in the weeds, the Marlins ended last year with about $110 million payroll. Projected right now is 96. So let's say we're playing with 15.
So that would be a lot for one player.
So let's say we're playing with 15 to $20 million. Now, another name I would immediately bring up, and I don't want to just get hung up on shortstop. I want to keep it moving a little bit. One guy I could see the Marlins bringing back on a big league deal is Garrett Hampson. The question is he an everyday shortstop? He can play out there, and I think the answer is probably going to be no. I don't know if that's the route you go. I'm going to throw out 2 names. One of them is going to cost more than the other. My first guy, who I think would be incredible for this organization, who will probably only be here a year or 2, is Brandon Crawford.
Ooh.
Who just spent his entire career in San Francisco.
Yeah.
He's obviously on the back 9. In fact, he's getting closer to the 19th hole and saddling up to the bar, and he might be teeing off on the 18th. But that's a guy
turning 37
okay,
in January.
That for one little fresh start for a year or 2, if that's affordable, and an awesome shortstop and a defender who's lost a little bit at the plate, might cost you 1 year $5 million or something. I don't know.
But if you're going to pay $5 million for someone like him, I'd rather pay $5 million for someone like Anderson.
Okay, so I would go away from Anderson.
You don't like Anderson because of the
I'm
cultural thing.
and I agree with you.
Sure.
I'm just not sure.
That would be definitely if that was what I was trying to create here, I would not go with Tim Anderson. But that's just my dream.
Here's another guy, and I'm not sold on his shortstop. Is Kike Hernandez? That's about 1 year, $5 million.
Okay. I don't hate that either. Those are just like, to me, those are safe guys.
Yep.
Those are safe. Crawford and Kike Hernandez.
Crawford is extremely intriguing to me. I think he fits exactly what like a Skip Schumacher is looking for.
I agree.
With a World Series pedigree, who might be like, dude, you know what? I might take the fam to Miami for a year or two and ride into the sunset. I'm going to give you all I got for a year. You know,
and I like his defense a lot, Kyle, because
he's older.
There's a couple. I mean,
Great
Luis
defender.
Ariz had a really nice year at second base, and Jake Berger, I think, overseeded expectations at third. They still want to have an anchor in the infield. Let me throw a name for you. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I got one name for you, and this, to me, makes the most sense. He's coming off a bad year. He's younger. Ahmed Rosario. I think he can be a guy.
I don't disagree, but I think it's going to cost too much. Really
how much do you think he'll?
1 year, anywhere between $7.5 to $10 million.
You think that even after the years that he's had, he's gotten traded, he's gotten ousted out of New York, he got ousted out of Cleveland.
The game is crazy, man.
He
There's
got
a lot of
traded
money.
with Noah Syndergaard to L.A. They forget him at L.A. 28 years old, lot to prove. I thought you could get
He's
him
a
on
free
a lower
agent.
deal.
He made $7.5 last year. I don't think he'd make any less than that. Maybe he'd take a little bit less, but they're all good names. We're just having fun with this. All right, so give me the one guy you have. So you want Tim? So let's just say
the one guy that I really want that I think would make the most sense is Ahmed Rosario.
All right, so Steven takes Ahmed Rosario to play
Yeah.
shortstop for the Marlins next year. I take Brandon Crawford.
Okay.
Let's move behind the plate. So now we got 11 position
geez.
players.
Behind the plate, I threw out this name this morning, Yasmani Grandal. Older,
He made $19 million.
but a
last
Miami
year.
guy. I know. Well, he's obviously going to take a much less than that.
Yep.
Reliable, struggled last season from an offensive standpoint, but he's another one where you look for Jake Berger and you say, okay, well, what kind of guy is this guy? Can this guy help this team? The other guy that gets his name thrown around and I am just no go on is Mitch Garver. His value is way too high for me. Doesn't even catch enough to really be someone that you can trust behind the plate defensively. Caught 27 games. I guess you can bring him as a DH, but I'm off Mitch Garver.
So if you're signing the check, you're going Yasmani Grandal. So
That's me.
Ahmed Rosario and Yasmani Grandal.
That's me.
That's probably going to cost you about $10-15 million, so it's reasonable.
You give me here.
Okay, so I'm going to go Brandon Crawford for a year if he's willing to come here.
I like that. I'm on board for that.
I think an awesome catcher, 5 years younger, who you could sign for multiple years is Victor Caratini. I love Victor Caratini.
Okay.
I think he would be a great full-time catcher with Nick Fortes backing him up.
How old is he?
He's 30 years old. Just
Okay.
turned 30. Okay, so I'm going to sign Brandon Crawford and Victor Caratini. I think an average annual value for Caratini anywhere between 3 and 4. Maybe get Crawford for 6 or 7.
Man,
so I'm sitting
liked
around
him when we
$11 million.
played
He was great with the Brewers. I really like him.
Miami guy too.
My spidey senses tell me that the coaching staff might love him as well. So we've got 12 or 13 players. Now give me another guy you want to sign. That's 12 or 13. Now this could be this is.
I
just
have
position.
names. I have
Go ahead.
names that I want to.
Okay.
I've written.
We've
out.
probably got about 5 or 6 more minutes.
Tommy
here.
Pham. Tommy Pham had a great World Series. Really nice October.
I would stop right there. You and I are on the same page. I want Tommy Pham on this team.
I think that he's a guy that, first of all, is close with Skip. Skip was with him in San
And a
Diego.
Peter
Both
Bendix
got
connection.
kicked out together. Peter Bendix
Rays
situation.
connection.
And I just like Tommy Pham because he's not afraid to put his foot down. I mean, he's a guy that people respect. And if someone is acting up in that clubhouse, hey, keep him straight. I think he really aligns with the values and the thinking of Skip Schumacher.
I totally agree with you. I would throw out one other name. I agree with you. I'm going Tommy Pham, Brandon Crawford, and Victor Caratini. You're going Ahmed Rosario, Yasmani Grandal, Tommy Pham. One other name I would just say keep an eye on. I have no idea about any of this. We're having fun with this. Hunter Renfroe in 2020 had a little cup of coffee with the Rays, and there's a little connection there with Peter Bendix and the Rays thing. I'm not just saying he's going to go after everybody that was associated with the Rays. I just think it's interesting.
It's just easy to connect
That's
the dots,
human nature, and you have to get the guy, these guys more as human beings instead of players sometimes as well. Hunter Renfroe might cost you a little too much, but a serious power threat, and I think the Marlins need a little bit more of it. So that brings us to 13 position players. I took a look at the starting pitching, and it's very difficult for me, so I just went right to the bullpen. I think if you look at Luzardo, Perez, Garrett, Cabrera, and Rogers, fine. I think I don't know if that'll be the starting 5, but I shied away from the starting pitching, and I went right to the bullpen.
Bullpen? Okay.
So here's what I have written down. Follow me here. Tanner Scott, Andrew Nardi, A.J. Puck, J.T. Shagwa, Stephen Okert. I put George Soriano in the mix.
You're labeling him as a bullpen guy.
That's 6 guys. I don't know. I think that's a guy that maybe he starts in AAA and you want to stretch him out. That's 5 guys. So let's say you need 3 relievers.
Okay.
Okay. You want me to give you my 3?
Go ahead.
I'm bringing back Matt Moore.
I love that.
I think for about 1 year, $4 or $5 million. Again, another guy who's going to saddle up at the bar soon with Brandon Crawford.
I don't know if he's going to even cost that much.
They're going to be on the links together soon, but I think he's got a lot left in the tank. He was a reliever. He was sensational. I got 2 more names for you because Matt Moore gives you a ton of lefties. That would be 5.
I was just going to say there's a lot of lefties.
Give you 5 lefties.
You got to get a righty in there.
Here's 2 other guys. He's a bit of a reclamation project, but Mel Stoudemire Jr. is an absolute wizard. I would sign Jordan Hicks for 2 years and about $8 million to work with Tanner Scott in the back end of the bullpen.
That would be an electric right-hander coming out of the pen. We saw him against when we played St. Louis.
And sometimes the ball ends up out of the ballpark, and he has no idea where it's going.
Yeah.
But if somebody just finally gets to him and gets him in the strike zone, it's 100 and it's impossible to hit. So that's 2 of the 3, because you got to take into consideration the 5 starting pitchers that you need. Obviously, 8 relievers. You're going to go
Craig Kimbrell, aren't you?
Nope.
Okay.
Joe Kelly.
I'm the same, kind of similar to Kimbrell.
A little bit similar.
35.
I think Kelly might be a little bit cheaper.
I like these, like Kyle. Like the thing I like about the names that you brought up, the Crawfords, the Joe Kellys. Like these guys are moxie. These guys have been there before. I think it's a really good blend of young, and now that the Marlins have been to the playoffs, kind of like okay, like we know what it feels like, but Joe Kelly really knows what it feels.
You know, if you look at Matt Moore, 1 year, $4 million. Let's say he gets $4 million. Maybe that's too much. Plus an extra 3.5 a year or 4 for Hicks. That's $8 million. Maybe 5 for Kelly. We're looking at $13 million. Get Tommy Pham for like 7. All right, so now we're at 20. But you take a look at like a Crawford and a Caratini. Is that an extra 10, 15 million? I need to make a phone call now. I'm at 35 million. I was trying to budget 20 million, so I got to make a couple of phone calls.
Let's sell some ads here.
But let's we got people to talk to get this done. I just don't think when I looked at this, it's totally nuts. I think all the names that I personally brought up and the ones that you brought up as well, I think it's entertaining. I don't think it's just like you guys are acting silly.
No.
I think these are all names that will be considered.
There's 3 spots left, correct? How many do we have? 37 players right now?
On the 40 man? Yeah, so, and again, we're just having fun with this, kind of not really thinking about the 40-man, just guys you could see. You still have guys, and not to be just disrespectful at all, but, a guy like Sixto Sanchez is still on the 40-man roster. How long you hang on to that?
Right.
Okay? There's a name in Avi Garcia. He can't stay healthy.
Well, that was one of the names where
and that's been unfortunate for a couple of years.
Absolutely. I the one selling point, then we got a break here because I have a really funny story I have to tell to end the program. The selling point for the Marlins is very simple. Young, manager of the year, Miami, pitching.
No state income
went
tax.
to the playoffs, up and coming, and vibey. That's my selling point. But most importantly, it's Skip Schumacher. There's certain guys that you just want to play for. Yeah. Skip Schumacher feels like one of those guys.
And Peter, this isn't that hard, man. Just give us a call. We're good at spending your money. I mean, we just put this thing together in about 15 minutes.
That's
so
it.
Give us a buzz. We can take care of this.
Back to the postseason.
Yeah, let's take one more break.